Welcome, welcome. Hopefully, and thank you guys for all joining us this afternoon for our Back to School with Kiddom webinar. We're going to be going through a bunch of cool things today, some updates, some tips, some tricks, and we're going to be talking about it at the teacher level today. And let me start out by introducing myself, and I'll just kind of go through here because we have a lot that we're going to go through today. My name is Nick Scales. I am a customer success manager here at Kiddom. What does that mean? I do a bunch of different things. One of those is leading webinars like this to you lovely folks who are joining us this afternoon. Give you a little bit background before I started helping out schools and districts with their Kiddom implementation. I was a teacher and a tech specialist and a bunch of other hats for the New York City Department of Education for about 10 years. And like I said, now I get the luxury of helping out schools and districts with their Kiddom implementation. So I'm going to be doing it from the teacher perspective today, kind of give you my insights on how it can work. And really today, when I go through this, is I want you all to think about how this is going to impact your class, your instruction, your students, because I'll give a lot of examples. I'll give a lot of ideas. I want you all to think about how that's going to impact your specific situation, because everybody is different. Everybody's in a unique situation. I'm sure you all use this a little bit differently. So take what from today that we go through, think about how that will affect it, think about how that will impact it, and how it can help you better plan and help your kids succeed at the end, because that's why we're all here when we go through this. So perfect. Now, today, what we'll be going through in our time, we'll have about 30 to 45 minutes today. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to throw those in the Q&A right now while we get the chat set up. I'm going to talk first about what we've been doing here at Kiddom. We got some new things that have been happening here in the last couple of months that you may or may not be aware of. And then we'll get into, I'll jump into the Kiddom platform. We'll start doing a little bit of like logging in, how do you roster students, how do you add in co-teachers? And then I'll kind of get into the usage with Kiddom. And now I'm seeing everybody should have chat access for now. So feel free to use that webinar chat if you can. And if you can't, please use that Q&A. I appreciate that. We'll get into planning with the curriculum. We'll get into some assignments and activities. And it works now. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now I'm seeing it there. So I apologize. I got like all these windows open now with everything, but we are good. And we'll talk a little bit about grading today. And then, like I said, put those questions in the chat as we go through. If anybody has anything burning at the end that I can answer for you, we'll have that open for you as well. So let's start with, again, what we have been up to. And I'm going to start with my math people out there. So let's start with our math manipulatives. You may or may not know we have a couple of new releases in the last few months, one being our virtual math manipulatives. We now have 17 fully integrated digital manipulatives. Now, this is at the K-5 level of what we're seeing. And what you can see here is, and again, think about your use case in the classroom for my math people out there. This is going to help those students investigate and get those skill acquisitions in those math classes that you guys have. As a teacher, think about this in practice. Instead of now having to go to an outside source to get manipulatives or even have the physical ones within the class, do I have enough? Is there enough there? Was it purchased for it? The nice thing is this is all within the Kiddom platform for you now, and the students interact with it within here. So they can be analyzed, they can be graded within Kiddom. It's going to save you all a lot of time as a teacher because it's all built right within Kiddom. It's great. Now, even thinking from the student perspective too, makes things a lot more fun and engaging as well. They're able to interact with this. You don't have to worry about if you have everything there. They can all work with it on their own devices in real time, and it really helps to have that engagement, builds that rapport. And again, helps with your instruction and helps with those students understanding the math concepts as we go through. So we're really excited that this was something new that we have here at Kiddom. And I'll get to our second thing that we have. Still sticking with math, this is our graphing tools. And this is for my 6 to 12 math people out there. Now, with the graphing tools, again, similar idea in the sense of you do not have to go out to have another resource in order to use these graphing tools. These are all here within Kiddom. Again, the students will be able to complete it. They can practice with it. And then you as the teacher, when we talk about the grading and assessment a little bit later, you're going to be able to go back through and see the student work. And you'll be able to have that evidence to help support your instruction, your planning, all the implementation as you go forward throughout the school year. It's a lot of cool things here. You can see we have that kind of running so you can get an idea of how it works. It's a really, really cool thing. And again, we are super excited that we have this as well. So those are our two first things with math. Now, this is with everybody now. We have also printing from Kiddom. And printing from Kiddom, this is one of my favorite new things that came about because there's a lot of use cases for something like this. So you can print any assignment or assessment that includes all of the different types of questions that we have, written responses, multiple choice questions, short answers. It's all built again within Kiddom. There's a couple of use cases of why you would want to do this that I've seen kind of used in practice already with schools and districts that are already implementing it. So are you trying to find a balance really between on-screen time, off-screen time? Kiddom allows for you to have this because you can print those out and students can complete it on pen and paper. Maybe you're having some device issues. We all know that sometimes maybe the kids' devices aren't working, or there's something that's, hindering them from actually getting onto it for the day. You as the teacher can print that out. The student can complete it physically, and then you can then upload that information as a picture later on. So you have that information so you can then go back, grade it, analyze it, and support those students' growth over time. There's a lot of things too that are also in here that we can talk about, and I'll get into the personalization of these assignments and assessments here in a little bit, because you can do that within Kiddom if you do not know. You can add in scaffolds, you can add in different question types, you can add in supports for your kids, and you can print out those versions as well. This is a real game changer for a lot of our teachers that are using this already. They're super excited about this because they can only see the capabilities. Again, I'm giving some use cases today. I want you to think about how this will impact you and your kids and your classes going forward. But again, we're really, really excited about printing with Kiddom here. So those are the three things that I'd like to highlight to start out today. That's what we've been up to here at Kiddom. There's a few other things that I'll point out to you today as we go through, but I definitely wanted to highlight those. So again, for my math people, we got the math manipulatives, we got the graphing tools, and for everybody, we have printing from Kiddom. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. So I'll pause for a second before I hop in. Are there any questions on any of these that I went through? Again, I'd like to make this any kind of conversational as I can as we go through with this. You guys excited at least? Does this look cool? I'm seeing some thumbs up. That's good. That's good. That's good. Again, you can print any assignments or assessments that include those different types of question points that we talked about. Exactly. And when you hop into Kiddom, I'll kind of show you where you can kind of print, and you'll be able to see what's printable and what's not, because it's going to be depending on the lesson that you go through. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. And what does it look like when it comes to graphic? Great question. So when we're working, so it kind of like in the visuals when we go through, and I can give more examples of that when it looks like when it comes out to the graphing questions on something like that. When it prints, it's going to look a little bit different, but essentially how you would expect as it kind of comes through. It'll kind of show you that in terms of like an open space for you to do that. Yes, and I do see some hands raised that might be from before. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And while that's happening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment, because I'm going to hop over into the platform for Kiddom, because we're going to start talking and we're going to walk through this really quick. So bear with me one moment while I switch screens. We're going to bring this over here and we're going to get right into the platform. Okay, let me share my screen and we're going to hop here. Perfect. Okay. Let me open up my chat again. And let me open this. Okay, perfect. Now I'm seeing everybody here. So out of curiosity, I want to see in the chat, if you're still with me, how many of you have been logged into Kiddom before, that you've played around with it? Or is this your first time? Give me an idea of where I'm at so I know who I'm talking to within my audience. Logged in, haven't used. Okay, so I'm kind of seeing a little bit of everywhere. Okay, kind of logging in. Maybe some people have used it. Some people used last year. Okay, not consistent, logged in before. Okay, so I'm going to kind of give you an overview then, and brand new. Okay, beautiful. So we got a lot of differing perspectives on Kiddom today. So I'm going to give you an overview. I'm going to kind of show you really a Kiddom 101 essentially for the next 15, 20 minutes. This is going to be super high level as we go through, and I'll kind of show you some of the basics on it. This is to really get you excited about the platform. If you have further questions or you need anything after today's webinar, again, feel free. You can contact me. You can contact a member of my team. We're always here to help you with this. But again, I'm kind of showing you a good overview today, and you can get an idea and a feel for what Kiddom really can do for your classroom implementation. So thank you. I appreciate the feedback there. So let's kind of get started. When you log into Kiddom, and depending on what your school or district has access to, you're going to see the curriculum tab over here on the left. And this is where the curriculum that you know in the print version is going to live. Again, mine will look a little bit different from yours depending on what curriculum that you have, but this is how you'll access the curriculum. I'm going to go to that in just a moment, because I do want to show you now how you can have your classes within here as well, because these are your two tabs that you're going to live in: curriculum, and you're going to also live in classes. Now, when it comes to setting up your Kiddom account and also your students' accounts, it's going to depend. I'll be very transparent with you on this. If you are rostering via things like Clever or ClassLink, that's all going to come from what is being shared by your school or district with Kiddom. So it'll automatically be done. If you're not using a system like that, your school or district, you're going to be able to do this manually. And when we log you in manually and we create your teacher account, you're going to be able to make your own classes. You're going to be able to roster your students. You can create groups within your classes. There's a lot of cool things within here. So I want to highlight what you can do if we are manually rostering, if you're not using things like Clever or ClassLink. If you are using things like that, we can hook up later and we can talk about that, because it's going to look a little bit different depending on how you access it. But you'll log into Kiddom via our website, email and password as it goes through, and you'll be able to, again, create classes here. I have a couple of demo ones here that are made, but if you wanted to create a new class, you can just click on create new class. What I love about Kiddom is it's super intuitive to use. It's going to be very simple. It's very straightforward. It guides you through the process. There's not a lot of clicks. It makes it easy for you, because we know your time is precious and we want to make sure you get to the most important thing, which is teaching your kids at the end of the day. So if I wanted to create a new class, I can click on this. I can type the class name, select the grade, select the subject, create a class, new tile will pop in. When I have my class here, for example, if I have this one, my EL class that I have, if I click into it, I don't have any students. So how could I add students? Very simple. I click add students. Kiddom is going to walk you through on how to do this. It's going to direct you step 1, step 2. You'll have a join code there for you as well. You can email students instructions to join the class. You have that option. So it's very intuitive on how to use this. And again, Kiddom walks you through this. If you wanted to add, let's say, a co-teacher to your class, you can do that right up here, this little add button with the person. When you click on that, you can also add your students there. But let's say I want to add a teacher. I click into this, and this is where I can add in co-teachers. And you're going to have two options. You can either give them view access, which is going to share access to your class and students' performance with your colleagues. They cannot, however, add or modify assignments. But if you click on the dropdown and you go to can edit, you're going to see that they have a little bit more access there. They can share student class performance with your colleagues, and they can become co-planners in the class's master curriculum. So you can give those privileges out as you would think co-teachers or any other instructor that's going to be supporting the students with the curriculum as you go through. So you have that option as well. Very simple. Like I said, very intuitive. Adding students, clicking the button, adding co-teachers, adding teachers, it's there for you. And that's how you do it within your classes. If I actually go to a class that has students in it, for this one, for example, you're going to see them when they actually join in. You're going to see the students there. They're going to populate. Avatars will be there. And this is how you're going to be interacting digitally within Kiddom when you go this and you start assigning things. So that's kind of like the basic overview there of that. Within your class, you can do a bunch of different things. You can make announcements to your class. So if you need to make changes to the schedule, if you need to make changes to certain directions that you've given them to, you have this ability to post that in here. You can take pictures, you can have video, you can attach assignments, you can do audio recordings. It's all within there. You also have your planner feature within here as well, because this is how you're going to access the assignments that you have given the students. And this is how you'll go and you'll grade, you'll view different post-session reports, all of those things will be in there. You can see our reports, our settings, all of that is in there. Again, very intuitive as we go through. I'm giving you a high-level overview today because of time. Now what I want to do is I want to hop into the curriculum, because this is where you're going to be starting at the beginning of the school year, how you're going to be doing all the work to help benefit you with your planning and with the kids. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to click on the curriculum tab. And again, when it loads up, this will be where your curriculum will lie. When I talk about now on the teacher side of things and implementation, I like to think of it as 3 pillars within Kiddom. I want to think of it as first, planning with the curriculum. Second is teaching and lesson delivery. And third is data and grading. Those are going to be the 3 things that are really going to drive your use within Kiddom, how it's going to affect your day-to-day, and how you want to use this to be successful. The first thing I'm going to start out with is, like I said, first, planning with the curriculum. So I'll hop into one. I'll pick EL grade 3 curriculum. I click into the tile, and now my curriculum loads. If you had logged in last year, like I saw some of you in the chat, you had a few different experiences with it. The visuals are going to look a little bit different now. What we call over here our table of contents. It's got to get different look now. Our team has been hard at work putting in a lot of the feedback that we get from you all and making this more user-friendly. So it's gotten a little bit of a cleaner look. You can navigate it much easier, and it just has a different feel to it, which is nice. So over here is how you're going to navigate within the curriculum. All here on the left is, again, that table of contents. Anything that's print within the curriculum, you have access to within Kiddom. plus a little bit more as well. And I'll show you that a little bit more in a second. But how do you navigate? So when you log in, you're going to actually get to the home page, really, what we'll call the home page of the curriculum. Anything that populates that you click on, your content will be over here on the right, and you can scroll through as it is. Anything on the left is how you'll navigate. And the tutorial boxes that come up. So when you first log in, that's just going to show up. Once you click out of those tutorial boxes, they should be gone, because if it's a first time login, that's where you're seeing them. That's a great question. Because it's kind of new. We want to show you what's new. So we're kind of walking you through for the most part. Now, whenever you see an arrow pointing to the right, that means you can dive deeper into the curriculum. So you can see here, just for this one, I have module lessons, I have the all block, the word wall, protocols and strategies, anchor charts. I have the other supporting information that's here. When I click on the right-hand arrow, it's going to break this down a little bit more. So I can go from my module lessons, I can click into a module because I see that arrow going to the right. I can click into my unit going into the right, and then I can click into my lesson going to the right. Guys, within 4 clicks, I have been now into as deep into the curriculum as I can go. I want you to think about, if you're familiar with the print version, you're having the books in front of you. There's a lot there that you're kind of going through: the student book, your teacher resource book, you're trying to flip back and forth. I was just able to go through each and get right into the different assessments, the presentations, the documentation that I need, the resources, all within 4 clicks within Kiddom. And it's just saves you time with the planning, going through and finding the information that you need quickly. One thing I do want to point out with planning with the curriculum that I do want to say, for each of our lessons, and also the icons have got a little bit of a change too. They'll each indicate something different, whether it's a presentation, an assessment, an assignment. As it goes through, the little icons there will tell you what they are. What I do want to point out, though, are these presentations which are specific to Kiddom. When you click into one of the presentations, and again, this is for each lesson that we have these, Kiddom has made their own Google slide presentations that have taken the curriculum, they've aligned it to everything that's in there, and we've also added speaker notes to it. And these are going to be editable versions that you can download to then make, again, personalized for your class. When you click into these presentations, and again, this is for any of the curriculum within the lessons, you go in, you're going to get brought to this link right here. This is going to bring you to the Google slides that I'm talking about. When you click into this, it's going to pop you into a different tab. From a teacher's perspective, I was going to suggest that you would do this. Down here on the bottom left, you're going to click these 3 circles. When you click on those 3 circles, you're going to see this. You're going to click on more. When you hover over more, I want you to open it in Editor, because this is how I want you to be using it in your classroom. When you open it in Editor, it's going to bring you to all what you're familiar with. Your Google Slides. Now it's going to pop open as a view only, but then you're going to be able to download this. You're going to be able to make your adjustments as you need for your class and your kids. And what's really cool is, and this is why I'm showing you to do it this way, at the bottom of each slide, we have all the speaker notes. So for your planning, everything is here. It's been aligned to each slide as you go through. I do want to be clear, though, this does not obviously replace lesson planning. It helps supports it, it supplements it, and it makes it easier for you to understand the curriculum, to give the best instruction that you can to your students. It's already there for you, and it's a super helpful tool in planning. So for those of you that are new to Kiddom, that are just starting with it, just maybe brand new to your curriculum as well, this is where I would suggest that you want to start with the first pillar, planning with the curriculum. Go into the slides, look at the speaker notes. This is going to help you digest all that in a super easy way. Okay. This is super exciting. I love this type of stuff. This is great. And I know that a lot of people, when they see this for the first time, they get super excited with this because they can see already, wow, there's a lot of things here that I can see like benefiting to me, saves me a lot of time, and helping me, again, instruct my students as we go through. So that's really the first pillar when it comes down to it, planning with the curriculum. Any questions? I'm going to take a look at the chat now and the Q&A. If you're still in the tutorials and you're clicking it, you should just be able to click next or an arrow there that should be able to get you out of it for sure. Okay, perfect. Anybody else? You guys still with me? Making sense? I'll give my teacher wait time just a moment. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to hop over here to show our next, which is going to be teaching and lesson delivery. Will we have access to the recording after? We are recording. Yes, we are recording. So we'll be able to get this out to you so you guys can see as well, for sure. No, thank you. All right. So now what I want to get into is that second pillar that I talked about. That's going to be the teaching and lesson delivery. So when I'm into, for example, I'm going to pick let's see, I'll go down through and I'll pick, let's say, mid-unit assessment for module 1. I want to show you how you're going to be assigning certain assignments to students, whatever you pick and you go through. So there's going to be a couple of things that you can do within here and assigning it. Before you assign it, I want to hop back to what I was talking about with the personalization of these, because you have the ability to personalize. You'll know you can personalize something when you see it in blue here. When you click on this, it's going to open up a version for you so that you can then make adjustments to as a teacher if you want to. Again, think about the reasoning why you would want to do this. A lot of schools and districts and teachers, they're using it to build in scaffolds and differentiation for their students. They're not so much changing the curriculum because it is research-based and we want to make sure we're keeping the integrity there, but we're adding in certain things that are going to help benefit our students as we go through. So when I click on personalize, what's going to end up happening is it's going to ask for a version name. So I'll just call this demo 5 because I don't think I've used that name yet. Perfect. Okay, so it's going to pop me open into kind of this editable version of the assignment. And what then I can do as a teacher is I can do a bunch of different things within here. With any of the questions that are already built in, I can change the question styling and the type. When I click on, because this one is a written response, if I click on this, I'm going to get this box that pops up where I can then change the question type. You can either have it as auto-gradable, which means Kiddom's going to grade it. You just got to put in the answer choice for it, or manually graded. As the name suggests, you as the teacher will have to manually grade. So you have that ability to change those question types. You also have the ability to change the points. You can go up or down with them. You can add in different skills, and the skills are already here with this one. You also have this newer thing, which I really, really do like. It's called this show work one. When you click on the show work, this is going to pop open. Now, by default, it's the student tools. Those math manipulatives I showed you earlier, if you were in math and we were doing this, this is how you would access that to get to it. But if I go to student tools, for example, and I keep it there, I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, because it's going to give your students additional ways to support their answer choices. It's going to give you, the teacher, the ability to have them share more evidence to justify their answers. Now, I've put that in there, and let's say I don't know how it looks. I want to see how this looks from a student view. I've made adjustments. I've changed the styling of questions. I've changed the points. I've changed the skills. I want them to show their work a little bit more. How do I know what it looks like before I assign it to them? Well, this is where this little eyeball up here is going to come in. This is our preview button. When you click on the preview button, this is going to pop open in a new tab, and it's going to show you what it would look like before you assign it to the kids to make sure it's to your liking. And I always suggest, before you assign it, that you do this. So click on this, it's going to pop open in a preview tab. And when you come over and it loads up, it's going to give you exactly what the students will see. And showing you that show work before, when you click on that show work, this is what it's going to give those students the ability to do. They can explain or show their reasoning through one of the tools. They can either draw, they can write, they can add a photo, they can put in their own audio recording, they can put their own video recording in. They have a bunch of different methods to support their reasoning. And you can think about the use cases for this for your kids and how it would work best, and for those that would really benefit from something like this. It's a really cool thing that it's newer into the platform. I always like to highlight because it gives you that ability to have that differentiation for your students. Okay, and hopping back over into, by the way, you can also add in different things too. Whenever you see the add section button, you click onto that. You can add text, skills, attachments, questions, multi-part questions. What I like to see, and what I also suggest to people, is that when they're using this for the first time, and maybe they want to make teacher annotations for themselves, maybe they want to make notes that they can go back through when they're planning with this and saying, oh, I want to remember this. I don't want my kids to see it though. I can merely click in text. I can type in whatever instructions I want to give myself, and I just have to make sure that student facing is unchecked. That's only going to be for me as the teacher to view it. The kids won't be able to see it. So you have that ability to add in notes for yourself. Think about it. If you're also collaborating with co-teachers and they have that ability, you can put that in there too. And you can see, oh, well, this is great. I can have this. I can go back through, and it'll be, again, think about the use cases and how you're going through with this and how you can use it on your day-to-day. So that's what we have there with that. And then always, always, always make sure when you are done with your edits, you click done. And how do I access it? You're going to have the drop down here. You're going to be able to see the original. That's always there. And by the way, the original always stays for the curriculum. You always have that original there. So don't worry. Even if you make edits, it doesn't go away. You have the other versions here, and you can just click the drop down menu here, and you're going to be able to access which ones you want to do. Also too, when you have and create groups within your classes. You can create groups. You can send out individual versions to students. You can send them to groups of students that you make. Think about the use cases of this. If you wanted to make different versions of things and push them out to different groups, different kids, you have that ability to do that within Kiddom as well. So this is all the planning phase. You're planning it out. You're thinking how it's going to work in the day-to-day. You're doing that. Those are the ways, again, high-level overview, how you would plan within the curriculum. Now, I'm looking at my time. I'm at 3:30. I need to now get into showing you how to actually assign this. So when you go to assign, oh, by the way, that print feature I showed you before, there it is right there. You click on print and you can do that. That's where it lives. Right there. So whenever you see that print button, that's where it comes through. Now I want to go to assign. You have two ways to assign. When you click on this, you can assign to students directly, or you can do lesson launch, and lesson launch is newer. When you assign to students, I like to think of this as my planners out there, my teachers that know on this date, I want this assignment to be submitted by my kids, or I know at this date and this time, I'm going to want this assignment to pop up for my students to take, and it's going to be available for them to take on their devices. When I click on the assign to students, when I get this one, you pick the class that you want to go to, you check on that, you fill in the information that Kiddom is asking of you, the due date, the time, when do you want to sign it, immediately or on a specific date and time? Do you want to assign it to everybody, or do you want to assign it to select students or groups that you make? That's the option there, and that's how you do that. And also too, lock and unlock. If you have unlocked, the students can view and submit the assignments unlimited times. Maybe you want to lock it down. They can only do it once. Make sure you click on locked. Those are your two options there for that. When you're done, you click next, you go through, and it'll pop into the students' assignments, and they can then start working on that. Again, if you make it live at that certain time. That's the one way to do it. The second way, if you wanted to assign, going back through it, is that lesson launch queue. I want you to think of lesson launch queue as, I know on this day, I'm going to get to this particular assignment. But before I actually submit it to my students, I want to have it ready to go so I can model it for them. And then when I say go, I'm going to launch it for them. It's going to push it out to their devices and they'll be able to use it. That's the lesson launch queue. So let me show you the lesson launch queue a little bit. When I click into lesson launch queue, I click this, I pick the class I want to go to. So I'm going to Nick's demo class. I click next. I want it to show up. Today is Wednesday, August 2nd. So I'm going to keep it for today. I can also change the date if I wanted to. I'm going to click add to queue. And it's going to see that little pop-up down there. I now can view it in the classroom, or think about this. Maybe I'm taking a couple of days before this is actually going to happen. I'm just planning out how I would access it. Is I'd go back over to my classes, remember which class I put it in the lesson launch queue for. I clicked on here. This is the class that I assigned it to. I go back to my students. Remember, we saw this before, but how do I actually get to what I put in that queue waiting to be launched? I come down here to the bottom, this lesson launch tab right here, this little presentation button. When I click on this, guess what? Today, Wednesday, August 2nd, what I've put in here, that mid-unit assessment 1, it shows up for me. It's right there ready to go. Hasn't been assigned to the kids yet, but it's waiting to be there. It's in the queue. Let's say I want to model it now. I want to give redirection on the instructions. I want to talk my kids through it before I actually assign it to them. What I do is I click on the title, and it's going to pop open into this window. And here I can actually even kind of like type in and show the students. I can walk them through the instructions on this before I actually assign it, so I can model it for them. When I'm done modeling it and my kids feel comfortable, I feel like they understand the instructions, they're ready to go. What I would then do is click out of the modeling. I click on my 3 arrows. I click launch classwork. And now what it's going to do, it's going to push it in real time out to all my kids on their devices. And it's going to say, hey, Mr. Scales has assigned this for you, begin working on this. And you're going to be able to see as it goes through in real time students' responses. This is really cool. So as students are doing this, you're going to see a little progress bar at the top of each of their names. And it's going to show something like 20, 40, 60, 80%. And that's just showing you as the teacher, like they're that portion of the way through the assignment. But maybe I want to know a little bit more. Maybe I want to see what they're typing. Maybe I want to see what they're writing in there. All I have to do is click on their name, and it's going to show me in real time their responses and what they're typing in, what they're writing in, what they're doing for the math, depending on the curriculum we're talking about, in real time. So you now as the teacher have that ability to be at your device, not wandering around the room. And again, I would always still suggest the monitoring around the room, but you can check from your device and see in real time what students are putting down. So maybe you're looking at this particular student. I'll pick on Nick's student 1. Maybe you click into his name and you realize, oh, okay, you know what, Nick, he's maybe having a little hard time with this particular one. That then tells me I'm the teacher. I can go over, maybe give a little bit of help if I'm able to, depending on what I'm giving. So you're not to call them out in front of the whole class. It helps with that. Then when I'm done, I click stop. Make sure you click stop. Click stop when you're done with this. It's going to stop everybody. It's going to save their responses where they're at that point. And then it's going to take it away from the kids and they're not going to be able to put any more changes into it. It's going to stop them from doing the assignment. And then those are your two ways in which you can assign. So again, assign it directly to them or going through and doing a lesson launch queue. All right. Any questions on that? Yes, no, maybe so. Are we good? Love it. I love loving it. That's good. Thank you, Megan. Anybody else? Because I have a few more minutes because now I need to show you actually you've done all this work. Okay, so I'm gonna still look in the chat and see what's going on, but let's think about this now. One, I got my account set up. I got my kids into my classroom. I've made my groups. I've added my co-teachers. I've planned with the curriculum. I've navigated through the table of contents. I've used the Kiddom slides and the speaker notes to help with my lesson planning. I've personalized some of the assessments and I've assigned them to the students, and the students have done it and submitted it. So now we have to go to the grading part of it and looking at everything and making sure, okay, all of this work, what do I need to fix as the teacher? What are my misconceptions from the students? How do I then redirect? So in order to do this, you would go back to your classes, as I said here. And then in this one, to find those assessments, you click into Planner. And when you click in the Planner, you're going to see, and you can change again the dates, you can see who you want to do, you can see the lesson launch, student assignments. You're going to be able to see anything that you've assigned here. And this is how you're going to click into grade. This is how you're going to click into view the post-session reports, all these things. So if I click into this one, because I had this one set up for you all today, module 1, end of unit assessment 1, you're going to see that I've already submitted and graded this one. I'll click into it to show you what you can see, because as a teacher level, you're going to get this breakdown now. After you've graded everything and you've posted the grades to the students and everybody's done it, you as a teacher get to see the impacts of your instruction. We have two different ways that you can look at this. One is the question view and the other is the standard view. When you look at a particular assignment, you're going to be able to see at the top, this is our scoreboard, think high level overview. You're going to see how many students submitted. It's going to give you a percentage. It's going to give you a grade average for the class. And it's also going to show you a grade distribution, a range, who's developing, who's exceeds in this case. And at the bottom is our scorecard. Our scorecard is where you're going to get more granular with the data. You're going to be able to look at each individual student, how they did on each particular question. And you're also going to see per question how the class did as well. And you can go through. Now, maybe we're standard-based grading. Maybe we want to focus on standards. Something that I really love to do is all you have to do is click on this little toggle here to standards. Now it changes your data into a standards report. So now you can now look at each standard that was linked to each particular question. And now you can see how the students did on that. And you can see the whole class average on how they did. So you can look and see, well, in this particular case, on this standard, 56% correct for my students on this. Maybe I need to go back and readdress that. Maybe I need to, again, you're finding the data, using the data, you're trying to find that story, you're trying to find those misconceptions, you're also trying to find those celebrations that you can make as well to help your kids. Now, I know for me, I'm probably not going to remember each of the questions that the standards were linked to. So all I have to do is hover over the standard and it's going to show me the related question there. So then I can get an idea of where to go back and kind of see where that is. So you have a lot of different options there for you all. So that's, again, how we kind of look at that and go through. So again, we've planned with the curriculum, we've taught and we've delivered our lesson. And now we're looking at the data after we've graded, and we're getting these reports there for you all on the teacher level. And I am at 339 right now. I'm at 340. So that is pretty much what I have for you all today in terms of our Kiddom back to school webinar for it. So right now, as I promised, I wanted to give time at the end for Q&A. So if there's any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them for you. I'd love to hear your feedback on this as well. Any other questions or any other things that I would love also for you to put in the chat if you don't have a question. Hey, I could definitely see myself using this with my kids because of this, or I love this feature because of that. I'd love to get that feedback as well. And we'll get that recording out to you as soon as possible. I'll get that recording out to you as soon as possible. Of course, of course. 24 hours, there you go. Zach's got you within 24 hours, guys, within 24 hours. What does the student side look like during the lesson? That's a great question. From the student side of it, it's going to be able to access the assignments that you have given. And you're going to be able to, again, just click into the assignment and see how it is. And we do integrate with Google Classroom, and I'll go back to the student one in a second, but we do integrate with Google Classroom. That's going to be, again, one of those options that I talked about before at the beginning with how the school and district is rostering and integrating with Kiddom, but it is a possibility. It is a possibility. It would just have to be something that's decided that's going to have to be for the whole school and or district at that point. That is a great question. And what I can do is I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to see if I can actually hop into one of my student demo accounts so I can give you a little look into that for y'all. And I'm still looking at the chat. I'm still looking at the chat if anybody has any questions. I'm still looking at chat. Anybody else? And again, I'd love to hear the positive feedback as well. Data analysis. Love it. Yes, the data. I love the data too. The data is a good thing. You're putting in all this work and everything, and you need that information to, impact your instruction. So that's going to be great. So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that. Let me hop over now. I have a student view for you here really quick. So I hopped over into, and just to show you, I hopped over into Nick Student 1, the one that I was picking on before. So what does this look like from the student side? Notice the curriculum tab doesn't exist for them there. And what you also have is essentially just looking at this, the classes. So when you click into the class for the student, you're going to be able to see, again, the students that are here. You're going to be able to message your teacher if you want to. But when we look at assignments or announcements, they can view the announcements there that I showed you before. So remember, I put hi, everyone. We have that in there. And on the assignments piece, you're going to see, based on the day, the assignments that the teacher has given. And it's going to show, okay, do I have any attempts remaining on this specific one? No, or I have this one that's due at a particular time. So it's going to give those students that visual of like, hey, okay, I have this coming due on this specific date, make sure you get it done, or I have this many submissions left on this particular assignment, I can do that. It's very as much you would expect from a student perspective. You can access the assignments, you can collaborate with your teacher, but you don't have access to the curriculum. Thinking about more during a lesson, not the assessments. Okay, so I want you to imagine what I said before with that student view. Let's say I did a lesson launch queue, for example, right? And I pushed it out to my students. Let me just click into this one because I have this mid-unit assessment one. On the student device, this is how it's going to look. So I'm going to get the attachments that are there. I'm going to see the questions, and then I can click in and I can type in my answers for this particular one that I have. That's how it's going to look. So imagine me being on my device as a student. The teacher has assigned this instead of like lesson launch queue if I'm doing it synchronously. I'll get an assignment like this, and this is how I'll see it as it goes through, just kind of popping up right there for you. I hope that answers your question. Anybody else? Yes, no, maybe so. I'll give it a little wait time. And if not, again, you can always reach out to us. We're always happy to answer any more of your questions that come up. You guys, again, are going to have this recording here, as Zach said, within the next 24 hours. So you can all go back through, look at this. You can gain a better understanding, digest it, because I went through a lot today with you all. And then if you have follow-up questions, feel free to get in touch with us, because we'd be more than happy to walk you through anything and how this will help, again, you with your planning this year, you helping with the curriculum, but also to helping our kids succeed at the end of the day, because that's why we're all doing this, really, right? At the end of the day. And that pretty much puts us right at time for today, 3:45. Yeah, Kiddom does have a lot more stuff than I think most people are. That's why we do these types of things. There's a lot of cool things, and we're always changing, and we're always adding things. And again, something that I would like to say too, if you have any feedback or suggestion, be like, hey, we would love to see something like this, or I want to see a little bit different of this, just let us know. all these things that we're doing here, a lot of these new things that I'm showing you today, they were because of feedback from people like you. So that's what I love working here at Kiddom, is because we take the feedback from our actual users, the teachers, and we're making it into the platform. And a lot of us behind the scenes are doing a lot of great work to make that happen. And we just have a lot of cool things that just launched for y'all. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to call it there for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for hopping in on today. Hope you got a good piece of information for today. And again, if you have any other questions, please let us know and be on the lookout for the recording. You all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you all soon.